But how did a simple 25-cent piece end up commanding such a staggering value? And could you right now have one sitting unnoticed in a jar, a drawer, or tucked inside your late grandfather's coin collection? Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to look for and how a small piece of American history could change your financial future forever. The story begins in 1965, a time when the United States was undergoing rapid change. The space race, civil rights movement, and the Vietnam War were reshaping the country. But amid these massive shifts, something seemingly trivial was happening inside the U.S. Mint, something that would lead to one of the most mysterious and valuable coins ever struck. Until 1964, quarters were made of 90% silver. But silver prices were climbing fast, and the government was worried. People were hoarding coins for their metal content, and silver was vanishing from circulation. So the mint made a bold decision. Starting in 1965, quarters would no longer be made of silver. Instead, they'd be a copper-nickel blend, cheaper, lighter, and much less shiny. Here's where the story takes a shocking twist. During that transition, a few leftover silver planchets, the blank metal discs used for coins, accidentally slipped through the system. Somehow they got stamped with the new 1965 date. That means a few genuine silver 1965 quarters escaped into the world when they were never supposed to exist. No mint mark, no warning, just quietly released into circulation. Imagine that for a second. You could be holding one of those quarters right now and have no idea that it's worth more than most cars. That tiny coin jingling in your change jar could be the key to generational wealth. And yet most people have no clue. When the first 1965 silver quarter was discovered, the numismatic world went into a frenzy. Collectors, dealers, and even the U.S. Mint scrambled to figure out how it happened. Some claimed it was an accident. Others whispered about employees sneaking silver planchets into the press for profit or for fun. Whatever the truth, the result was the same. A coin that shouldn't exist but does, and that makes it priceless. Now, before you run to empty your coin jar, here's how to tell if you've got one. A real 1965 silver quarter will have a solid silver color all the way through the edge. No copper stripe. When you drop it gently on a hard surface, it rings like a bell, not a dull thud. It also weighs about 6.25 grams, unlike the 5.67 grams of a regular copper-nickel version. These small details could be the difference between 25 cents and hundreds of thousands of dollars. Let's pause for a moment and think about that. One tiny oversight in the minting process, one moment of human error, and suddenly a few ordinary coins became the holy grail of collectors. It's a story that shows how value isn't always about size or flash. It's about rarity, history, and timing. Speaking of timing, the coin market today is hotter than ever. Collectors and investors alike are flocking to tangible assets, and rare coins are leading the charge. The 1965 no-mint-mark silver quarter that sold for $317,000 wasn't just lucky. It was the product of a perfect storm of scarcity, condition, and demand. With inflation rising and uncertainty in the economy, collectors are paying record prices for historically significant coins. And here's where things get exciting. Experts believe there are still a few of these silver 1965 quarters floating around, tucked away in collections, old piggy banks, or estate boxes. Maybe even yours. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you checked your old coins? Not just glanced, but really looked? Because stories keep surfacing about everyday people who discover treasures in the unlikeliest places. A retiree in Arizona once found a rare silver quarter mixed with his loose change from the 1970s and sold it for 6 figures. Another man, sorting through his father's coin collection, found one sealed in a paper roll that hadn't been touched in 50 years. Imagine the feeling of holding what you once thought was pocket change and realizing it's your ticket to financial freedom. Now, maybe you're thinking, okay, but what are the chances? Fair question. The odds are small, but they're not zero. Every collector who ever struck gold in this hobby once thought the same thing. And remember, rarity doesn't disappear. Those silver 1965 quarters are still out there, waiting to be discovered. And here's the thing about opportunities like this. They don't last forever. The market moves fast, and once a handful of these coins are verified and sold, prices could skyrocket even higher, or they could stabilize as supply surfaces. That's why the most successful collectors act, not wait. They educate themselves, they inspect, they verify, and they sell smart. If you're serious about turning your old coins into cash, now is the moment to learn the ropes. Start by getting a simple digital scale to weigh your coins. Invest in a magnifying glass to examine the edges and the mint details. And when in doubt, reach out to a certified coin grading service like PCGS or NGC. They can authenticate and grade your coin, giving you proof that collectors and auction houses will trust. The 1965 silver quarter isn't the only hidden gem either. Many everyday coins have rare variations worth small fortunes. The 1943 copper penny, the 1970s small date Lincoln cent, and even certain Jefferson nickels from the 1950s. The difference between a regular coin and a valuable one often comes down to the tiniest detail: a missing mint mark, a slight doubling of the date, or a minting error invisible to the naked eye. Let's add a bit of humor to this, shall we? Imagine explaining to your family that the reason you're late for dinner is because you were talking to your coins. Honey, I swear this quarter might be worth $300,000. You'd sound crazy until the check clears. Then you're not crazy. You're a genius. But let's not forget the emotional core of this story. Coins like the 1965 silver quarter aren't just metal, they're time capsules. They've passed through hands that built America's highways, paid for first cars, jukebox songs, and milkshakes at diners long gone. To hold one is to hold a piece of the nation's story. And when that story turns out to be rare, valuable, and historically significant, it becomes more than just money. It becomes legacy. Think about what that kind of discovery could mean for you. Paying off debt, funding retirement, helping your children or grandchildren start their lives without financial strain, or simply gaining the freedom to live life on your terms, without constantly worrying about money. Here's a thought that might keep you up tonight. What if you've already held one of these coins and spent it, unaware of its true worth? It's a haunting possibility, and one that's all too real. That's why this isn't just about luck. It's about awareness. Every rare coin discovery starts with curiosity, the decision to look twice instead of once. So if you've ever wondered whether your old change could be your hidden fortune, stop wondering and start checking. Don't wait until another record-breaking sale hits the headlines to think, I should have looked. Because every day, as older generations pass on and collections resurface, more rare coins are being found and sold. You don't need to be a numismatist or an expert to get started. All you need is a bit of patience, a sharp eye, and the willingness to believe that something as small as a quarter could transform your financial destiny. The people who find these treasures aren't the ones who know everything. They're the ones who care enough to look. And here's the exciting part. The market for silver-era coins is not slowing down. Investors are treating them like art, unique, tangible pieces of history that can only go up in value. Every time one of these 1965 silver quarters changes hands, its legend grows, drawing more attention, more desire, and more money. The next person to find one could be anyone. A teacher sorting through a coin jar. A mechanic counting change for a coffee. Or maybe it's you, sitting at home, listening to this story, wondering if fate has already placed one in your possession. So what will you do? Will you let this knowledge fade, or will you act on it? Will you check those coins and take the first step toward uncovering something extraordinary? The difference between a dreamer and a discoverer is a single moment of action. Somewhere out there, a few forgotten 1965 silver quarters are still waiting to be found. They've survived decades of circulation, countless hands, and the passage of time, and one of them could soon be in yours. This is more than just a story about money. It's about possibility, about how history, luck, and awareness can converge in one moment to change your life. And maybe, just maybe, the next great coin story isn't about someone else. It's about you. So tonight, when you're done watching, go find that old jar of change. Dust off those forgotten collections. Because the next time you hear a quarter drop, it might not just be the sound of 25 cents hitting the counter. It could be the sound of opportunity, of destiny, calling your name. And who knows? The coin that could rewrite your financial story might already be in your hands. Let's start at the beginning of this remarkable story because understanding how a simple quarter became a treasure worth hundreds of thousands of dollars will help you spot the next hidden gem in your own collection. In 1981, the United States Mint was busy producing billions of coins. Inflation was high, the economy was unstable, and silver had already been phased out of circulation coins more than a decade earlier. Quarters minted in Philadelphia that year carried a simple P mint mark. Nothing unusual about that. Or so everyone thought, but here's where the story twists. Somewhere deep in the minting process, a small batch of planchets, the blank pieces of metal used to make coins, were mistakenly struck using silver instead of the standard copper-nickel composition. This shouldn't have been possible in 1981. Silver quarters hadn't been made for circulation since 1964. Yet somehow, through either a minting error or an experimental test run, a few silver planchets slipped through and were struck with the 1981 design. For years, nobody noticed. These coins went into change jars, into pockets, into the world, completely ordinary to the naked eye. But as collectors began to uncover anomalies in weight, sound, and luster, whispers began circulating through the coin community. Could these be silver quarters from 1981? Experts were skeptical at first. But then came testing, verification, and official grading that confirmed what few thought possible. A genuine 1981 P-Mint silver quarter existed, and its rarity was almost mythical. Now imagine being the person who discovers one. You're cleaning out an old drawer, sorting through coins, and you find a quarter that feels slightly heavier, shinier, different. You take it in for appraisal, and you're told it could sell for over $300,000. Can you feel the rush of that moment? The disbelief? The heart racing as you realize your spare change just became life-changing money? That's the magic and madness of numismatics, the art and science of coin collecting. But let's pause here for a second. You might be wondering, how can you tell if you have one of these rare coins? Is there a way to check without expensive equipment or expert eyes? The answer is yes, and it starts with knowing what to look for. A genuine 1981 P-Silver Washington quarter weighs slightly more than its copper-nickel counterpart, around 6.25 grams compared to the normal 567. Its edge will appear cleaner, with a more solid silver hue instead of the typical copper stripe visible on modern quarters. Tap it lightly against a hard surface, and you'll hear a distinctly bright, ringing tone, the unmistakable sound of real silver. And if you're lucky enough to see the coin glimmer under light, you'll notice a unique brilliance that only silver reflects. Now, before you run to your change jar with a kitchen scale, let me remind you, the odds of finding one are astronomically low, but not impossible. After all, every collector who's ever struck gold, or in this case, silver, started with the same belief that the next coin might be the one. And that's what makes this story so powerful. It's not just about metal or mint marks. It's about hope, discovery, and the thrill of uncovering hidden value where others see nothing. Let's take a look at the numbers for a moment. The 1981 P-Silver Washington quarter that sold at auction was authenticated and graded by the Professional Coin Grading Service, or PCGS. Its pristine condition, exceptional silver composition, and documented rarity made it one of the most valuable modern quarters ever recorded. In today's market, experts estimate its worth at around $314,000, and climbing, as collector demand and silver values continue to rise. But this surge in value isn't happening in isolation. Across the country, ordinary Americans are digging into their coin collections, discovering treasures worth hundreds, thousands, even millions. From the 1943 copper penny to the 1970s proof quarter with double dies, these small metallic artifacts are rewriting the rules of wealth building. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. Coins? Really? Can something so small make me rich? Absolutely. In fact, that's the beauty of it. Coins don't care who you are, where you live, or what you earn. They reward curiosity, attention, and timing, three things anyone can develop. And if you're sitting on old coin jars, inherited collections, or random change from the past, you might already be sitting on a gold mine. Or should I say, a silver mine. Here's where it gets even more interesting. Unlike volatile stocks or unpredictable real estate markets, rare coins tend to hold and grow in value steadily over time. They're tangible assets, immune to digital collapse, inflation-resistant, and backed by real demand from collectors worldwide. And the top 1% of investors know this. In fact, some of the wealthiest families in America quietly own numismatic portfolios worth millions. So the question becomes, are you ignoring an opportunity right in your hands? Because if you have coins minted before 1982, especially those from transitional years or with unusual compositions, you could be looking at serious money. The key is learning to identify them. Let's go back to our 1981 silver quarter for a moment. It's not just valuable because of its composition. It's valuable because of its story. It represents a mistake that wasn't supposed to happen, a blip in the minting process that created something one of a kind. And collectors will always pay a premium for uniqueness. Think about it like art. A painting by an unknown artist might be beautiful, but a misprinted Picasso, that's history. And history sells. This is why you can't afford to overlook the coins in your possession. Every smudge, every mint mark, every texture tells a story. And some stories are worth more than you can imagine. Let me ask you this. When was the last time you truly examined your coins? Not just glanced, but really looked? Because the next great discovery might be hiding in plain sight. And here's the kicker. The number of undiscovered rare coins in circulation is shrinking every year. Collectors and investors are snapping them up, grading them, and locking them away in private collections. Once they're gone, they're gone. That's why the market value of rare coins keeps climbing. Scarcity and demand are two sides of the same coin, pun very much intended. Now, imagine where you could be a year from now if you started taking this seriously. Maybe you're sitting at your kitchen table sorting coins with your morning coffee. You find something interesting, get it appraised, and realize it's worth thousands. That money could pay off debt, start a business, fund a vacation, or even change your retirement plans. It's not a fantasy. It's happened before. Dozens of times. People just like you have discovered coins in old boxes, jars, and garages that turned into six-figure paydays. And with every discovery, the excitement spreads. Because here's the truth. Wealth doesn't always come from new opportunities. Sometimes it comes from rediscovering the past. So, what can you do right now? Start by checking your coins from 1960 through 1982. Look for unusual mint marks, especially P for Philadelphia, and coins that look slightly different in color or weight. Use a digital scale, a magnifying glass, and most importantly, your curiosity. You don't need to be a professional. Every expert started as a beginner who decided to take a closer look, and don't let skepticism hold you back. The people who laughed at the idea of a $314,000 quarter are the same ones who now wish they had looked harder. Opportunity doesn't knock. Sometimes it jingles in your pocket. Now, before we wrap up, let's talk about what this discovery means beyond the money. Finding a rare coin isn't just about wealth. It's about legacy. It's about uncovering a story that connects you to American history, to craftsmanship, to the idea that even in ordinary things, extraordinary value can exist. The 1981 P Mint Silver Washington Quarter isn't just metal. It's a time capsule. It carries with it the echoes of the early 1980s, of economic uncertainty, of the craftsmanship of mint workers, and of the mistakes that turned into miracles. Owning one is like holding a piece of history that decided to reward its keeper beyond imagination. And that, my friends, is the real treasure. So tonight, when you get home, open that drawer. Take out that jar of coins you've ignored for years. Because among those quarters, nickels, and pennies might be the very thing that changes your life. Don't wait until stories like these are just legends. Don't let the next $300,000 discovery belong to someone else. Be the one who finds it, the one who recognizes it, the one who turns curiosity into fortune. Because wealth doesn't just happen to the lucky, it happens to the aware. And somewhere out there, another 1981 P silver quarter is waiting to be found. Maybe, just maybe, it's waiting for you. It's the kind of story that keeps treasure hunters, coin collectors, and even everyday Americans up late at night, rummaging through their coin jars. Because yes, that one coin might just be sitting in your pocket right now. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what makes this rare quarter worth a small fortune, how to identify if you have one, and what steps you can take to cash in before the window of opportunity closes. But before we dive into the details, ask yourself, when was the last time you really looked at the change in your hands? That old habit of tossing coins into a jar could be one of the most overlooked wealth secrets of our time. It all begins in 1987, a year that doesn't usually ring a bell in the coin-collecting world. No major minting errors, no special commemorative issues, just another batch of quarters rolling off the Denver Mint's production lines. Millions were made. Yet hidden among them, a tiny handful of coins emerged with a secret. A minting anomaly so rare that experts estimate fewer than a dozen may exist in pristine condition. And here's where things get truly fascinating. The mystery of the 1987 D Silver Washington quarter. Normally, by 1987, quarters were no longer struck in silver. The U.S. Mint had switched to a copper-nickel composition back in 1965. Silver quarters hadn't been part of circulation for over 2 decades. So, when collectors stumbled upon a 1987 D quarter that tested positive for nearly 90% silver content, it sent shockwaves through the numismatic community. How could a modern coin be made of silver again? Was it a mistake? Or something more deliberate? Some believe it was a test strike accidentally released into circulation, a prototype for commemorative sets. Others think it was an insider minting error, where leftover silver planchets from previous coin runs were mistakenly fed into the presses. Either way, what emerged was a unicorn in the world of coins, a modern-era silver quarter that shouldn't exist. Picture it. A small, gleaming piece of American history, accidentally born from the intersection of precision, error, and fate. The 1987 D silver quarter is a living paradox, and that's exactly what makes it so valuable. Let's talk numbers for a moment, because this is where your jaw might drop. The most pristine example of this coin recently fetched a staggering $309,000 in a private collector sale. To put that in perspective, that's the price of a luxury car, a down payment on a beach house, or even a comfortable retirement cushion, all sitting in the palm of your hand. And here's the kicker. Experts believe that if another high-grade example were to appear today, it could easily surpass that record. The demand has only grown, driven by scarcity and the relentless hunger of collectors for the next great discovery. But what makes this coin so different from a regular 1987 quarter? Let's break it down, because this is where the treasure hunt begins. Start by looking at the mint mark, just below the phrase, "In God We Trust." The letter D indicates that the coin was struck at the Denver Mint. Now here's where the story takes a twist. Most 1987 D quarters are worth, at most, their face value. But the rare silver variant has distinct differences. A brighter, almost mirror-like sheen, slightly heavier weight due to the silver composition, and a distinct ringing sound when dropped, a crisp, bell-like tone instead of the dull thud of copper-nickel. If you happen to have one, don't rush to clean it or handle it carelessly. The value of a coin like this depends heavily on its condition. One light scratch or fingerprint can slash thousands off its worth. Instead, store it in a soft holder and get it authenticated by a reputable grading company such as PCGS or NGC. Once certified, you'll have a verified piece of history and possibly a life-changing asset. Now, let's pause for a moment. Isn't it wild how something so small could hold such immense value? Think about how many coins you've brushed aside over the years. What if one of them was worth more than your car? Or your mortgage? The thought alone is enough to make anyone reach for their coin jar right now. Here's where things get even more interesting. The growing collector craze isn't slowing down. In fact, over the past decade, rare U.S. coin prices have surged as wealthy investors search for alternative assets, tangible, historical, and immune to market volatility. Collectible coins have become the new hidden gold for those who understand their power. And as more collectors enter the scene, demand for rare minting errors like the 1987 D silver quarter continues to skyrocket. You might be wondering, how does one even sell a coin like this? Well, the process is surprisingly simple, but timing is everything. Rare coin values can fluctuate dramatically based on market trends, collector interest, and even auction timing. To maximize your profit, it's best to consult with professional coin dealers, auction houses, or even submit your coin to be featured in major events like heritage auctions or Stack's Bowers. Some sellers have even reported bidding wars erupting over rare quarters, driving prices to record-breaking heights. And here's a little secret. If you have old coins stored away, this might be the perfect moment to have them appraised. Prices for U.S. silver coins, rare pennies, and mint errors are peaking due to limited supply and a surge in collector activity. In fact, many seasoned collectors believe we're entering what they call a modern gold rush. But instead of digging for gold, people are hunting for rare coins in their own homes. So what can you do today to ensure you don't miss out? Start small. Check your change, your old coin albums, even that jar sitting on your kitchen counter. Pay attention to quarters minted before 2000, especially those with visible anomalies, unusual shine, double stamps, or faint mint marks. Remember, every legendary discovery begins with curiosity. One look could be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. And speaking of curiosity, here's a question to keep you thinking. Why do you think so many of us overlook the treasures we already possess? Maybe it's because we've been conditioned to chase bigger things, bigger paychecks, bigger houses, when sometimes the real fortune lies in the details we ignore every day. The 1987 D silver quarter is a reminder of that. It's a metaphor for unseen potential, a symbol of what happens when you start paying attention to what others overlook. But let's not sugarcoat it. The world of coin collecting isn't just about luck, it's about knowledge. Knowing what to look for, where to look, and how to act fast when opportunity strikes. Every year, more rare coins disappear into private collections, never to resurface for decades. And with each one that's locked away, the remaining few become exponentially more valuable. So if you're sitting on a collection of old coins, now's the time to get serious. Don't wait for the market to cool. Don't let uncertainty or hesitation cost you a potential fortune. Have your coins evaluated. Connect with a professional. Learn the stories behind your pieces. Because knowledge, in this world, truly is wealth. And maybe, just maybe, your next discovery will be the one that changes everything. After all, the 1987 D silver quarter didn't just make one person wealthy. It reignited the passion of countless Americans to look closer, dig deeper, and believe again that hidden fortune might still exist in plain sight. Imagine finding that coin. Imagine holding it, knowing it represents not just value, but a story, a piece of history forged in error and preserved by fate. That moment when the appraiser's eyes widen, the air goes still, and you realize you've struck gold without a shovel. That's the dream. That's the power of awareness. So, as you finish this video and go about your day, let me leave you with a challenge. Tonight, take a few minutes to explore your coins. Dust off that old collection, pour out the change jar, and look closer than you ever have before. Because someone, somewhere, is going to find the next rare coin, and it could just as easily be you. And when you do, remember this story. Remember that a simple quarter, minted in 1987, with a tiny D mark beneath Washington's portrait, became worth $309,000 because one person decided to look closer instead of looking away. Sometimes wealth isn't about what you earn. It's about what you discover. And who knows? The next coin you find might not just change your wallet. It might change your life. It all begins, like many great stories, with something ordinary, a pocket full of change. 1995 was a year of transition in America. The internet was just taking off, the economy was booming, and the U.S. Mint in Denver was striking millions of Washington quarters, each bearing the familiar image of George Washington. But among the countless quarters produced that year, a few, an incredibly rare few, were struck on 90% silver planchets instead of the usual copper-nickel-clad material. And that tiny mistake changed everything. Now let's pause for a moment. Think about how many times you've tossed a quarter into a tip jar, a vending machine, or your car's cup holder without a second thought. What if one of those coins was worth more than your entire car? That's not exaggeration, it's fact. Because this 1995 D silver quarter is one of the rarest minting errors in modern coinage, and collectors are paying eye-watering sums to own it. But how could something like this even happen at the U.S. Mint? To understand that, we need to travel behind those tightly secured mint doors, where machines hum day and night, striking thousands of coins per minute. During transitions between coin types, sometimes old silver planchets, left over from proof or commemorative runs, get mixed into regular circulation batches. When that happens, a handful of quarters are accidentally minted on solid silver instead of the standard alloy. To the naked eye, they look almost identical. But under the right light, they shimmer differently. Their edges gleam a little brighter and their weight is slightly heavier. Here's the kicker. Most people who come across one of these rare coins never realize it. They spend it, they drop it in change, they move on. And that's why the surviving examples are so incredibly valuable today. Now you might be wondering, how do you even tell if your 1995 D quarter is one of the rare silver strikes? Great question. The first sign is the edge. If it's pure silver in color, without that telltale copper band, your pulse should start racing. The second clue is the sound. Yes, coins have a distinct ring when dropped. Silver coins produce a higher-pitched, bell-like tone compared to regular quarters. And if you really want confirmation, a precise scale will tell the truth. A normal-clad quarter weighs about 5.67 grams, while a silver one tips the scale closer to 6.25 grams. That tiny difference could be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's moments like this that make collectors' hearts race, the thrill of possibly holding a fortune disguised as pocket change. And that excitement is contagious. Every day, people across the country are rediscovering old coins tucked away in boxes, purses, and jars. Some are uncovering pieces of American history. Others are discovering the ticket to financial freedom. Now, imagine this. You're cleaning out an old dresser drawer, and among faded receipts and forgotten keys, you spot a dull quarter from 1995. You almost toss it aside, but then you notice something different about it. A subtle shine, a smoother feel. You grab a scale, check the edge, and suddenly you realize what you might be holding. That rush of adrenaline? That's what every treasure hunter dreams of. And in this world of rare coins, those dreams can come true more often than you'd think. But here's where things get really interesting and a little emotional. Because these coins aren't just metal, they're stories. They're fragments of history that connect generations. Maybe your grandparents saved a few coins in a jar back in the 90s. Maybe they handed them down without realizing what they were worth. And now, those very coins could be the key to unlocking a life of financial comfort. Of course, this isn't just about luck. It's about awareness. Every coin collector, every dealer, every wealthy investor who buys rare coins knows one simple truth. Knowledge is profit. The people who understand how to spot rarity before others do are the ones who build fortunes. And the 1995 D silver quarter is a perfect example of how ordinary Americans can tap into that world. Let's talk numbers for a moment. In recent years, verified examples of the 1995 D silver quarter have been appraised and auctioned for as high as $305,000. That's right, $305,000 for a single quarter. Just imagine what that amount could do for you. It's a home in a quiet suburb. It's a college education for your children. It's an escape from debt and the freedom to live life on your terms. But there's a catch. Because as news of this coin's value spreads, so do the fakes. Counterfeiters are becoming more sophisticated, plating regular quarters in silver to fool hopeful sellers. It's easy to get caught up in excitement, but it's vital to verify authenticity. So if you think you might have one, resist the urge to sell it immediately. Get it graded by a reputable service like PCGS or NGC. A professional evaluation not only confirms the coin's composition, but also locks in its market value and protects you from being underpaid. You might ask, why are collectors willing to pay such astronomical amounts for a coin that, at its core, is still just 25 cents? The answer lies in rarity and story. The 1995 D silver quarter is a minting anomaly. One of those once-in-a-generation mistakes that captures the imagination of the numismatic world. Serious collectors don't just buy coins. They buy history, they buy exclusivity, and they buy emotional connection. And when rarity meets story, price becomes secondary. Think about art collectors who spend millions on a single painting. It's not about the paint or the canvas. It's about what it represents. The same is true here. Each of these silver quarters is a symbol of hidden value, of overlooked potential, of the mystery that lies within the ordinary. And that, more than anything, is what drives collectors wild. If you're sitting there thinking, well, that's amazing, but I probably don't have one, let me stop you right there. Because everyone who's ever struck gold in this world started from that exact same thought. The difference between those who find opportunity and those who miss it isn't luck. It's curiosity. The willingness to look a little closer, to question what others overlook. And who knows? Maybe your story will be the next one we tell. Now let's reset for a second. I know all this talk about coins might make your head spin. You might even be thinking, I don't have time to sort through loose change. But humor me for a second. What if 5 minutes of searching could reveal $300,000? That's more than most people earn in years. So maybe it's worth a look, don't you think? The truth is, these rare coins represent more than money. They symbolize a hidden opportunity that still exists in America. In a world where we're all searching for financial security, sometimes the answer isn't in stocks, crypto, or real estate. It's sitting right in your palm, disguised as spare change. And that's a powerful metaphor for life itself. The greatest treasures are often hidden in plain sight, waiting for someone with enough awareness to recognize their worth. Now here's something that will surprise you even more. Experts predict that as more collectors enter the market and as silver continues to rise in value, the worth of these rare 1995D silver quarters will continue to climb. Some forecasts suggest they could reach $500,000 within the next decade. That's right. The quarter you could find today might double in value tomorrow. That's why timing is everything. Those who act early, who verify, preserve, and sell at the right time, are the ones who win big. Waiting too long could mean missing the market peak, while rushing could mean settling for far less than the coin's true value. It's a delicate balance, but those who understand it are playing the wealth game on a different level. And here's the beautiful twist. You don't need to be a numismatic expert to start. You just need curiosity, patience, and a willingness to learn. Start with what's already in your possession. Go through your coin jars, your drawers, your family's collections. Look for that 1995 D mint mark, check the edge, and listen to that ring. You might just uncover a legacy, because let's face it, everyone dreams of financial freedom. Everyone wants to build wealth that lasts, but most people believe it's out of reach. The story of this coin proves otherwise. It shows that value can hide in the most unexpected places, and fortune favors those who pay attention. If you take one thing from this story, let it be this. Don't underestimate the small things. Whether it's a single coin, a single decision, or a single moment of curiosity, it can change everything. The 1995 D silver quarter is proof of that truth. And before you go, here's a thought to leave you with. Somewhere out there, maybe in a cash register, a coin roll, or your own drawer, another 1995 D silver quarter is waiting to be found. Someone, maybe you, will stumble upon it. The question is, will you recognize it when you see it? Because the difference between ordinary and extraordinary wealth often comes down to one simple act, noticing what others ignore. So tonight, when you empty your pockets or sort through your spare change, remember, your next fortune might already be in your hands. And who knows? The next story of a simple quarter worth $305,000 could be yours. If you found this story inspiring, take a moment to share it with someone who might need that spark of motivation. Because wealth doesn't just come from money, it comes from awareness, curiosity, and the courage to look closer. The treasures of life are already around you. You just have to notice them.